Blessings. You're watching That's What's Up with Qiyamah Muhammad. That's What's Up is a series to showcase the lives and experiences of those in the albinism community. And we're here with our guest for today. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
I am Roben X.
I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation for this interview. And I know we kind of had a little setback, but I'm glad we were able to finally get this going.
I am too. I'm glad to. I know schedules have been crazy, though we're in a pandemic, but I know schedules are all over the place. People are busy.
Yeah, definitely. But, but I guess, just to get started, um, like, starting from the beginning with your childhood and, like how your parents, like how they felt when they saw that they had an albino child. Um,
Um, I guess my father, he didn't believe that I was his. So he thought my mother either cheated or something happened that was out of his control. My mom was elated. She didn't think anything of it. She just knew that I was her son. She actually didn't get to hold me or see me until about a day later, because I was being passed around the hospital because I had albinism. Um, they didn't know that I had blonde hair. They almost drowned me because they were like, "What's all this? What's all this blonde stuff?" I had hair down to my back as a newborn, so they almost drowned me. And they're like, "Oh my God, that's his hair. That's his head." And they pull me out, and I'm this white baby, Black family, and the rest of my family were elated as well. My aunt named me. She named me Rob Darius Brown. I have issues with that name, but you know, she named me, and I was accepted. I was accepted. I didn't know I was different until I got out into the world.
Oh, so it's like when you were like finally out to road, like nothing ever like signaled, oh, I'm like kind of different than everybody else.
I knew around my family that I was slightly different, but the way that they treated me, the way that I was raised, there was no difference in love and care throughout my family. It wasn't until I was going to public school or being looked at in stores, I'm like, I guess there is something wrong here.
I feel that because just today, my mom, she asked me like when did I feel like that I was different or anything, and
Mm-hmm.
basically the same when I went out like with like out into the world and in public school and everything. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
so it's like so similar. Um, do you know that? Sorry. Do you know if you're the only one with albinism in your family?
From what I've seen of my 22 years of being here, I haven't seen anyone else with albinism in my family, though I know albinism can come in different forms. Um, I've met outside of my family, I've met other individuals who have had forms of albinism and they didn't know that they had albinism because theirs didn't look like ours. They didn't have oculus cutaneous albinism. So they're thinking, okay, well, I don't have the white hair, I don't have the super pale skin, but there are so many different forms of albinism. I met a person with albinism who has tan skin and dirty blonde hair. And so she thought, okay, I'm just I'm just really light skinned, right? She has a form of albinism, but the ones that are usually publicized is the oculus cutaneous albinism. So slowly through time, I want to bring more awareness to these different forms of albinism.
Oh, you just brought it to awareness to me because I never realized that there were like different levels of albinism. I always thought it was ocular cutaneous albinism and like those
Hmm.
levels, but yeah, I never really knew that there were different types. Hey, learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's crazy because um oculus cutaneous albinism is just the lack of complete and utter pigment. There's no pigment whatsoever here. And so you have people with albinism that have blonder hair, or they have more pigmentation in their eyes. So that means they have less vision problems, potentially. This is case by case, and it hasn't been studied enough to know. But um, in fact, there's a young lady who's on my Instagram. You probably see me post her very often. Her name is Abby.
Mhm,
And if you look at her skin isn't as pale as ours. She has a slight tan and she has really deep blonde hair.
mhm.
But that's a form of albinism that people don't usually pay attention to. So just spreading awareness about the different types. And I'm not as educated on the matter as I would like to be. I'm still tutoring myself and teaching myself, but eventually I want to be able to bring awareness to all these different forms of albinism. So hey, you'll know.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and just for the people watching this, like, and you might like either for yourself or a family member, like, just search search this stuff up because you might have a form of albinism, but you might not have thought you did.
Hmm.
Hmm. But yeah, it's always good to like be educated on these type of things, just to have more knowledge, like not just about yourself, but like for other people that you'll run into and everything.
Right.
Hmm. But, so one thing I want to bring up is that um, uh, a few years ago you were on the news.
Hmm.
So how did that like get started? It's like what brought that up?
Well, I've been on the news or on television in general multiple times.
Mhm.
So there's always different reasons that I'm there. The first time I made a television appearance was because I was spreading awareness about albinism, and I'm an anti-bullying advocate. So I was fighting back using my words and using my music, being a positive outlet in the city that I come from, that being Memphis, Tennessee. There are not too many positive outlets out here that are taking that stand. And I was so young, I'm like 12, 13 years old at the time, taking these stands as much as I can to try and spread awareness about these particular things.
Mhm.
Um, Other times I've been on the news were either due to my work with the United Nations or other forms of avocation.
Mhm.
I'm a big advocate. So uh, if there's anything that's going on, that's usually probably why I was there.
Mhm. So could you speak more on like how you got like started with working with the UN? Like,
It started back when I had a campaign that I was working on
mhm.
called Dream Forever, and um, essentially it was just going to different schools,
Mhm.
speaking to children, doing free performances, and giving free pizza parties to kids that were disciplinary free.
Mhm.
And the United Nations seen my work that I was doing and that I was going to all these different schools, and they wanted me to speak about albinism on a global scale with other acts like Sean Ross and many, many others.
Mhm.
That relationship flustered and grew till it became me representing them for the 70th Declaration of Human Rights. Well, celebrating the 70th Declaration of Human Rights, which on that day I was proclaimed a human rights champion, which was crazy. And I was also the first hip hop artist to perform in the Palais de Nation in Geneva, Switzerland. So it was it was a crazy thing. It was crazy.
Yeah, sounds like a crazy thing. It's like that just opened up so many more doors for you. Did you ever think that like just this one small thing would lead you to being this like the face of something like that?
It's kind of hard to say. I've always had this dream or these beliefs that eventually I would I would do everything in my power to make change.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily have a goal of money and riches. That that will come as a byproduct. I just do whatever's in my heart, and however way I'm rewarded, that's God's decision. That's out of my hands. I just want to do my work on this planet, and I want to shift history. I don't want this world to be the same with me in it as it will be when I'm out of it.
Mhm.
Uh, so I have always had this belief that eventually maybe I'll be going here, but my goal has always just been to reach this one kid or this one person, to stop this one individual from doing something that will hurt them or hurt the people around them.
Mhm.
That's always just been my goal. It's been down to that common denominator.
Yeah, that's a very honorable goal. Like, and that's like similar with me too. It's like with my organization, like started it when I was 16. Um,
Mm,
so that was like 5 years ago, and um, like I'm 21 now, and I didn't ever think that I would have like gotten this far with and reached so many people, like not just in the U.S. but from other countries and everything. Um,
mm,
and it's just like, and it's like in your mind, you think like, I'm just gonna reach this one person, but then like just a week later, you getting like a call, be like, yeah, I'm from this place, then you just it's like, wow, I'm reaching people from outside of where I'm used to, like local.
right. Exactly. I wanted to ask you actually, um, with your organization, Confident Albinos, if I'm being correct.
Confident
Um,
brothers and sisters.
what'd you say?
Confident albino brothers and sisters.
Beautiful. I love it even more. With this organization, where did you get started? Where did the dream come from, and what was your motivation, and what is your plan for the future? I know that's a loaded question.
Oh, that's a good question. um, well, it started off, um, well, like I said, I was 16, so it's like 5 years ago, and
Mm,
my mom, she she like always said like that she wanted to see me do more for the community.
mm,
Um, so we like me, my mom, and my dad. We always like knew that like my self esteem and confidence was like kind of low just from like school and bullying and all that.
mm,
Um, but when my confidence and self esteem like grew just that bit more, um, we kind of just thought, hey, why don't I also help people with albinism that has low self esteem and confidence?
right.
So that's how I got started, and, and like with the name. My dad just said it as a joke. He's like, "Why don't you name it Confident Albino Brothers and Sisters?" It was like abs for short. It's like, you know what? Hey, but and it's like the name just stuck.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. And what's your goal? What's your end goal for the campaign?
My end goal is just to, like you said, just to have something for when I'm not in this world anymore. And it's like, and other people can still work in it. Like
Hmm.
you'll be part of um, that confidence for albino brothers and sisters, basically.
Hmm.
Hmm. And it's like still continue to teach and just be comfortable in your own skin and just yeah, that's basically Yeah, that's
You s-
how I got started.
you seem like such a nice personality. What are some of your influences? Who are some people that you look up to personally?
Ooh. Well, I've never really been asked that question. Um, well, of course, my family, my mom, dad, brother, um, and my grandmother. And since I'm a Muslim in the Nation of Islam, I look up to Minister Louis Farrakhan and
Hmm.
just um, like the people that's been in my circle, they've really helped me grow as a person. Just, like, even though I'm like really, I'm such an introvert that I hate like really talking to people, but just that like the people that's helped me with my social life really um, they've really been such an inspiration to me, and I wouldn't have been able to start start all of this.
Hmm. I
Um,
I don't think that it's necessarily that you hate talking to people. I just think it's such an uncomfortable field with your life experiences and different forms of trauma that you have went through in your life. I think it's just an uncomfortable place. It's produced something negative for you. But you're talking to me now, and I'm sure you've talked to many, many other people. So you're breaking out of that shell. It's just an uncomfortable feeling. That's all.
yeah, that, I didn't really think about it that way. Yeah, and yeah, you're absolutely right. How it's just an uncomfortable feeling, but and like you see how I'm laughing like all the time, just it's just with
Hmm.
nervous nervous reaction. But
It's okay. It's okay. Deep breaths. We're all here to learn and grow.
absolutely. Um, yeah, I want to return that question to you. Who are some of your inspirations for your campaigns and everything?
My inspirations are a lot of things, some fictional and some real, some being Malcolm X and Tupac Shakur, others being Spider-Man or Black Panther. Um, people that people that aren't afraid to be alone if it meant being or standing for something that is right. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if it meant going through the trials and tribulations of being beat up and beat down. To succeed, it never mattered. The importance is doing what you believe is right and what you believe is the truth, and it's your truth more than anybody else's. Going through adversity and being able to use your pain to heal pain. That's all the individuals that I've named have done. You take Peter Parker, who's lost his Uncle Ben, and that pain of learning what responsibility means, his responsibility to protect people, to use his power for good. Or you take Tupac Shakur, who grew up in a life of poverty and was a person who witnessed black crimes, white people committing acts of violence against black people, and seeing black on black crime in his local neighborhoods and what that does to a person, even his parent, but also knowing that the teachings of the Black Panther Party influenced him and made it so important that he did what he was supposed to do. And you have men like Malcolm X who weren't always saints, that did some wrong, that weren't always the greatest man that we know him as or knew him as, but learned to let those experiences not only define him but shape his later on beliefs. Essentially, that's all that I am as an individual. Someone that wants to use their words and their power to reach other people, to touch their hearts, minds, and souls.
And I hope that as this interview goes on, like that'll be true for the listeners and viewers who will end up seeing this. So hope they'll take your words to heart. Excuse me. So So another question that I wanted to, or like another topic that I wanted to touch on.
Hmm.
You mentioned your music, um, and well, that you made music. So, want to speak on how you got interested in like some of your music interests, um, or inspirations.
I got started with music from, I've always been a musical kid. There used to be this channel that came on called the Music Box. When I was like 2 years old, I would just sit in front of it and listen to it until I fell asleep on the carpet. Um, Music has always been an escape and it's always been around me my whole life, from the music that my grandma listened to the music that my mother listened to, and my mom actually being a musician as well. Um, her being an artist, a hip hop artist who was strongly influenced by Tupac and Gangsta Boo and the like, uh, going down those paths, and also just feeding me, just being around her all the time, helped feed my influence. Music for me didn't take a real form until I started getting bullied, beat up, and called names. So I'm thinking to myself, it started off with me just being in the room, coming up with words, things that I would want to say to somebody that did that to me. And then I started thinking, if if I could be more than the albino boy or the white boy, what if I could just, if I was the white boy that could rap and I wasn't just defined by my appearance, then that was enough for me. So I started freestyling on lunch tables and freestyling at any moment that would rise up. And eventually words started to get around. And I guess my mom heard me rapping one night in my room. So she comes, knocks on the door. Hey, son, um, I I don't know if you're busy or not, but would you want to come in here and hear some beats? We had a home studio set up in our house. Nothing special, just some like blankets in a closet, uh, with a mic against it that stopped the sound. That type of grimy. No huge setup, no subwoofers, nothing. Just a desktop and that mic in that room with those blankets in it.
With that humble start.
And and so she starts playing beats and she's like, "You like these?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're cool. They're cool." I'd never rapped on a beat before. You know what I mean? It's nothing but pen and paper, body and chest. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. So I go in there and I just let it out. I let everything out. Whatever was going on with me at the time, whether it be the anger or the depression, the sadness, the woes, I just let it all go. In that booth, she leaves out she calls my now manager slash producer and goes, "Enigma, I want you to manage my son." They're long time kind of friends and buddies. He used to make beats for her and record her, so that's how she knew him. And he's like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "I'm so sure. I'm done rapping. I'm through. It's over. I'm not partaking in that lifestyle. It's him. He's the one."
So it's like she passed the torch down to you.
Exactly. And my song Pure is, it was written for the world, but it was written as a way to kind of acknowledge that I have that torch now and that I have that strength to carry it. Uh, and so I started thinking to myself, okay, if my words could be this powerful, if they could move my mom is a very critical person. All right. She's my biggest critic outside of myself. Okay. So if it could move her, if it can move my tough mom, oh, what could I do then? Who could I talk to? Could I be like Spider-Man was to me? Could I be what Spider-Man was to Peter? Could I create someone that would allow me to grow as a man and be who I want to be? So that's what I did. I was exposed to a lot of different lifestyles living here in Memphis. It's a grimy place, a dark place. So I seen the gang violence. I didn't seen the crackheads, the dope spots. I grew up in it, but I didn't want to succumb to the woes of my city. Didn't want to be another statistic. There was even points in my teenage years where I was one of them. You know what I mean? I was one of them. I was one of the ones doing this and ducking out and woo woo woo. But that's not what defines me, and I won't be trapped by those things. Just like I wasn't trapped by the adversities of my depression. So if I can take this, I could take this pain. If I could take the hurt of all my people in the city and put it into one compressed and concise piece of work, reach people. It's easy to reach people or reach kids when you're one of their peers. So that's where it started for me. That's where it started, and that's how I'm here now.
I was like, I'm just so involved listening. I was like, yeah, just go on. I was like, I can't even form words. It's like you became your own Spider-Man basically, and your own Black Panther, and like it's like you moved past all of like what held you down, and like brought that into something better and bigger. Your mom was one of your inspirations for your music.
Mhm.
Were there any other artists? You also said Tupac, I'm sure. So were there any
Yeah,
artists that that brought you that inspiration too?
so many. You got Onyx, you got Wu-Tang, you got DMX. I hope he's okay at the time of filming this. I hope he's good. Um, you have alternative music because I love the alternative music as well. You got Korn, you got Breaking Benjamin, you got System of a Down, Linkin Park, Skillet, Slipknot. Um, let's go some other place. You got Isaac Hayes, Al Green. You got Michael Jackson, Prince. You got, let's see, you got Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. Uh, all over the place. All over the place. I'm everywhere. Um, all these raw feelings.
Yeah,
Aside from your Tupacs and your Biggies and things like that, it was just the message, just how raw their messages was, and how provocative they could be sometimes, entrancing with their words and their song language.
what would you say that some of your like more raw and like pure like songs um like would be like, that just has that more most raw emotion.
Mm. I would have to say there's three songs. Um, Devoid from the Mental Interlude EP that I dropped last year.
Mhm.
It's just raw. It's raw emotions. I didn't do too much with it. I tried to leave it as empty as I could because that's how I felt at the time. There's Pure. It's just full of an amalgamation of things that I just tried to pepper through the entire song. Then you have G Train, which is my rage. We all have rage, and we all have that part of us that manifests. Mine was that anger. So G Train for me as well. So those three tracks from the Mental Interlude are pretty raw.
And where can people find these songs?
It's on every single streaming service. All you have to do is type in RobenX, Robin X, RobenX, and the Mental Interlude, and there you go. 6 songs, really 5
Mhm.
plus the intro, but 6 songs, just
And
solid.
I'll be sure to like, put that in the description so everybody can go ahead and listen and support your music.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me. Mhm. So I guess to like go back just a little bit with schooling. Um, So was it like what would you say like was the most hardest thing that you experienced during that schooling? Like not like if it was just for like other school not schoolmates, your classmates or just learning in general.
Learning was never really hard for me. I've always been able to read through the lines or easily pay attention. The most difficult thing was easily the children, because children don't know better. So things that are different to them, they make fun of because they don't know how to deal with those particular emotions. So those things start at home. You have to teach your kids how to deal with difference. The Colors of Oli makes a lot of reference to that. It's a book that I wrote, and it's about accepting people for who they are. And essentially, that was probably the biggest part, was just the kids.
How how did you like deal with it? You dealt with it with your music, or was it like a never a different um outlet?
Um, I was depressed. It took a while before I was really just facing it.
Mhm.
I was depressed, suicidal. I attempted suicide multiple times. It was a dark place. I didn't feel accepted. I didn't feel wanted. And I always just questioned, why me? Why am I different? Why did I have to be the one that ended up like this? I would hide my hair, hide my skin, anything that represented who I was, I hid. And so I didn't start dealing with it until I made music, till I had a place to channel it. But there was still this rage here. It wasn't until I slowly evolved into accepting that that I got here.
So it's like just like kind of just dealt with it until you were able to deal with it, basically. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, I definitely feel that. Like I was like in the same those same dark places as well. Just and I put my emotions into poems and like try to put them into songs, but never really like went anywhere most of the time. But yeah, it's just that's a very relatable um, experience.
Well, sometimes you just need to, get it out of you. So
Mhm.
writing your poems and things like that, that was all that it was.
Yeah, just have that outlet, able to just throw your thoughts somewhere that wasn't a destructive
Right.
way. So, excuse me. So I know you mentioned before when you were younger that you met um, other people with albinism, or like different types of albinism.
Hmm.
So when have you? We start it over. Are you into other not into? Are you in other groups that are directed towards people with albinism, like Noah and those different types of groups?
I'm not, but I have worked with Noah, and I have worked with a couple of other albinism groups, including your organization now. Um, just working alongside one another here and there, whether it be a certain project or something like that. But I'm not in a particular organization.
Do you think you're gonna like either just um like because you have your own like thing you said like your own campaigns and everything so
Mhm.
mm. So were there any like other stories that you would like to share? Like memorable ones, like meeting people with albinism or just things with your music or
I think one of the most memorable things I've ever done. I know that I've worked with the United Nations and I've been around the world a couple times, and I plan to continue that. And I know that I've released my own EP. I've released a children's book as of last year as well. But I think the most potent and powerful thing that I've ever done, excuse me, for me, myself, is meeting the mayor of my city and having him give me a certificate of recognition, acknowledging my work, acknowledging that I'm doing something positive for the city. That was the heaviest thing I ever received for me personally.
so how what were your emotions? Like what was going through your head at that moment?
I was just, it was just heavy. The It was a heavy experience. It was almost, and it's hilarious because the first news anchor to do my story, her name is Ursula Madden. She was there. So it was like everything was kind of coming full circle for me. I've always wanted to do something for the city and just be as loud as I can for the city. I know that it's difficult to be heard because negativity sells, but that was the dopest thing for me personally was that certificate, was meeting Mayor Jim Strickland and shaking his hand and just having that discussion of what can we do next. But while you get adjusted, what was a memorable moment for you? What was your standout moment that made you know that, oh snap, I'm doing the right thing, I'm pressing the right buttons?
That that's a good question, and it's like I already got the answer for that. It was the third anniversary, I think, for International Albinism Awareness Day. That was 2017. And that was the first time I've ever really like, like done something that big. I had done an event, um, and I was able to get Minister Farrakhan to speak at the event.
Really?
And
That's dope.
yeah,
That's dope.
and the whole thing's on YouTube. Just Confident Albino Brothers and Sisters, IAD or something like that. So if any of y'all want to check it out, then that's available. But yeah, that was the biggest thing in my mind, and I was able to get others, um, other people about me to come speak, and got Salif Keita, his wife, Mrs. Keita, and who was one of the people to even start to initiate that. Was Kumba Keita to initiate IAAD, and pitch that to the United Nations, who basically made it an official thing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. That's great stuff.
It was like that's like the hugest, hugest. That was the biggest event that I was a part of, and that I was able to bring and have happen. So, but yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. I'm slick jealous. Louis Farrakhan, that's raw. That's crazy. Yeah, that's hard right there. Congratulations. Like I want to clap, but I'm using my other hand to hold this. That's great. You get a snap of approval from me. That's dope.
I'll clap for you as well because hey, given like that award by the mayor, it's like that's such a huge thing too. But it's like we all doing great things out here
For sure, yeah.
for sure. For the industry,
Mhm.
how do you feel being one of like the only few albino rappers and like hip hop artists, and, like just saying albinism in entertainment in general and the media?
I think it's a great thing. I think there's a realm for everything.
Mhm.
It's not even just albinism as a particular standout. I think it's just dope that people, young people, are making their presence known, and they're making it known in their own way.
Mhm.
You have you have so many different individuals like Invisible Melanin, whose name whose real name is Carissa, who's doing great things for the albinism community with her stylistic approach to entertainment.
Mhm.
You have Sean Ross opening the modeling doors for albinism, and I think it's just a dope place to be right now.
Mhm.
To be right now in an industry that is slowly being open to more advantageous individuals.
And what are your feelings on um, like seeing how albinism is portrayed in like movies and books and everything?
I mean, usually it's for a gag, it's usually for a laugh. No one has done anything interesting with it. And I'm not saying that we need to be so serious or
Mhm.
anything like that. I feel like treaded we've treaded the, oh my God, they're pale red eyes. I feel like we've done it too many times.
Mhm.
And so I feel like it's room to grow.
Mhm.
With the colors of Oli, that's what I wanted to do, to tell a new story with a new child of albinism who's not necessarily magic or anything. Yeah, he can see colors where colors don't exist, but colors is just a metaphor for acceptance. He can see color because he accepts the beauty in every single thing. He can just do what us regular people do. It's just when you don't accept people for who they are, then you live in a world that is black and white.
Mhm.
I just wanted to do something different with the concept and not really emphasize on his albinism, but rather his care. Just make it more natural to see us.
So it's like not making it such a huge thing, but it's just like one of the factors of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
I think, and there's nothing wrong with albinism being as loud as it is, because it should be.
Mhm.
But it's not. It's when you make it a token.
Mhm.
It's kind of like putting a African American character in something, but not doing anything with them. It's
Mhm.
just, well, we have a black character, we have a black something.
Mhm.
It's token.
Mhm.
So instead of that, if you're going to include people with albinism, just do something with them that's more interesting.
Mhm.
Albinism is not our only personality trait. I mean, I'm a black man first. So that's how I feel. It's a long-winded thing, but yeah.
Yeah, because I know and I've mentioned mentioned it in other things that media portrays albinism, as like either the gag and the joke,
Hmm.
or just having that trope that we're all evil and
Yeah,
magical
yeah.
powers or something. Like there's not been a single positive character trope that um that a person that was albino played. Like there's not one that I can think of. And it's, I don't know, it's like you see all of these things like with Matrix Reloaded, I think, that had the twins and like other movies like Da Vinci Code and all of that. It's like you see in that as like a child and be like, oh, it's like, this is how people portray me, basically. And yeah, but
I'm
that's
not
like,
really upset with the Matrix Reloaded joint because them dudes was hard. I can't even cap. They were dope. They were dope. They were giving Neo a run for his money. They were kind of hard. I'm not mad at them. But I think people like Sir Major being in American Horror Story and
Black Lightning.
Nathan, I don't wanna oh yeah, my boy and Black Lightning, Melvin playing my guy Tobias. That's hard. That's just hard. I think we need more of that. That is just dope. That's dope. I think American Horror Story and Black Lightning is a great example of that. You also have my boy who played in Hap and Leonard and who did the motion capture for Groot in the MCU, the last two MCU films. I don't want to butcher his name. Sometimes I butcher it, and I don't want to butcher it. But I think his name is Olion. I don't want I feel like I'm butchering it, so I'm just gonna stop here. But I'll probably send some links to his work. I think these names are important, and these individuals should be acknowledged as such.
First, like it's like at least that's like a little something different than me. And I guess like I should also bring up the fact that like for a project that Cavs is working on, I'm working on a comic book with my brother. He's the artist, and the title is going to be like Nair, and it's going to feature a female albino superhero type character. It's going to be like our goal for that is to turn around that negative stereotype and trope of villain characters and start to like pave that path for more original more original content and positive content at that.
For sure.
And before I forget, and I want to not have you plug this in, but where can people find your book?
The Colors of Oli is available on all platforms where you can get a book. So that's Barnes and Nobles, that's Amazon, that's eBay apparently, and a couple other websites that I'm forgetting to mention, but it's available everywhere, and it is in all Shelby County elementary schools. So that's great.
Nice. Getting that to the children.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. And did you have any projects that's in the works?
Everything that I'm working on, I will announce something for when I feel it's ready. I'm kind of hard on myself, so I wouldn't forgive myself if I said something about something and it wasn't legit yet. So until then, check out The Colors of Oli, check out The Mental Interlude. You won't regret those two projects.
All right, and you can drop your socials so people can follow you and get updates on that.
For sure. I'm RobenX everywhere. So YouTube, RobenX, that's RobenX. Instagram, The RobenX. TikTok, The RobenX. Twitter, The RobenX. And Facebook, RobenX. RobenX. And TheRobenX.
We'll be sure to put your links in the description, so get that support and so people can find you and everything, do all of that. Excuse me. Um, and would you mind doing a drop for that's what's up?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. My name is Roben X, and I am so happy to be a part of That's What's Up. Please support confident albino brothers and sisters. This is a great campaign, and you will not regret it.
Thank you. And hey, if y'all in Memphis, like, and if you happen to like see him, just you know, I don't know, like, um, just, just like stop by and say hi. I don't know. Yeah. This was great. And I know it wasn't like as long that I wanted it to be, but we covered so much ground and everything
For
that,
sure, for
that
sure,
I was able to have this conversation. You're able to share your experience and your life with others. And, oh, and one last thing. Sorry, it's like I'm just gonna keep saying one last thing, but um, did you have any last words of encouragement or inspiration for those who listen?
for sure. There's always something to leave people with. Your mind is like a field, so you must plant things in it that will produce great access. Your mind will produce things regardless. If you do not produce things in this field, it will grow weeds. Plant seeds in your mind.
That, I was like, I'm feeling inspired already.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again for accepting this interview request. It was so
Thank
great,
you for having me.
so great. And be sure to put everything down in the description. And for the people who are watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. And this has been Qiyamah with Robin X. And you just watched That's What's Up. See you next time.